hey! Oh, is everybody here already? No, I can't believe it. Everybody's on time? I love that! You guys are even early. Well, I mean, that's pretty good. Let me just double check here. I can see you. No, I can't. But I wish I could. I'm sure you all have lovely smiles on your faces. Right. So, yeah, hi! Hey, hey! Can you just confirm that you hear me and you see me well? I am doing great! And you? Hello! I feel like a celebrity right now. Look at that! Hey! We're almost all here. Almost. How are you doing? You should be here with me. The air is great. And the view is quite nice too. Although you can't see that right now. You can only see me. Sorry. I'm happy too. It's good if you're happy. People should be happy. We can start. Woohoo! Well, perhaps I have to start with a little introduction. So my name is Cecilia, and I will be your tour guide for today in Paris. For you to remember my name, first it's easy because probably you have it somewhere written, but also you must think of Simon and Garfunkel. Cecilia, you're breaking my heart. That's me. I got named after the song. Actually, it's about a song who has a girl who has a lot of lovers. So, but my mother did not speak any English, so that's why she named me after this. I am French, but I was born just outside of Paris. To be honest, we do say that there is a difference whether you're born in Paris or outside. I'm a nice person. There are Parisians who can actually hear me right now. We have a small reputation of being rude. Some very, very small reputation. So for today, you see it is the evening, it's dark. It is 8:30 p.m. Which is actually perfect for visiting the city of lights. You're going to see. I'm going to take you on a little stroll to look at some of the buildings. Make sure to pay attention to the stories I'm going to tell you because, as you know, there's going to be a little quiz. And if you answer correctly, you can, like the winning team is going to get some gifts. So obviously you have to pay a lot of attention. And feel free to ask me any questions you want about anything in France, whether it is what about the Eiffel Tower, or if it is anything about how do we make chocolate croissant, or why are the French so arrogant. Now this one I don't have actually an excuse for it, so I cannot be telling you. But feel free to ask me any question, absolutely. And if you want to make any donation, of course, they're always welcome. If you like the tour, if you think that I'm terrible, you can send me some old socks or something that you don't like. So for us to get started right now, I'm going to show you where I am because I am on, remember we're arrogant people, the most beautiful avenue in the world. So let me show you. Right there. Oh, you see a bit of my gimbal here. That's bad. There you go. It's better. Do you see? This is the Champs-Élysées. You know the song? Oh, Champs-Élysées. Ba-da-ba-da-ba. But before we go out there, I would like to show you precisely where I am. I don't know if some of you have ever come actually to this little square or come to Paris before. I'm sure some of you have. But this here is right at the bottom of the Champs-Élysées. And probably you can guess where that tall thing is from. It's an Egyptian obelisk. It's an actual Egyptian obelisk. We didn't steal it, by the way. I know that Napoleon stole a lot of things. I mean, you know, we have the largest museum in the world, which is called the Louvre. And most of everything that is in it is actually stolen. Borrowed. We're going to give it back eventually, someday. Just not right now, because we want to enjoy it. And this one is actually the original obelisk from Luxor in Egypt. So in Luxor, there were 2 obelisks at the entrance of a temple, and we got one. It's a gift. It's a gift because there is a French team who deciphered the Rosetta Stone, which was also stolen. But thanks to the Rosetta Stone, the French were able to decipher the hieroglyphics, and so the Egyptians gave us the obelisk. But yes, I know you like it, that's fine. But the funny thing is that they gave it to us. It's a gift, it's an actual gift, but France had a small military base in there, and they said, give us a gift. No, give us a gift. Okay, we don't have a choice. So it's given, but not so willingly. And when we got it, actually, it was a whole mess. We're bringing it back because we had never had such a big thing. So when they brought it, they actually had to put it on a ship. And it was so complicated just to take it down. And that's why actually on the side right here, let me show you, they engraved the explanations on how to take down an obelisk. If you want to do this in your garden someday, you see there is the obelisk, you need to attach it to the second obelisk for taking it down. And then they put it in the ship right here, and they had to build, basically they broke part of the ship for putting it in, and then they rebuilt the ship. And it took them a little while to ship it here. And when it arrived, it was just so big that we didn't know how to transport it. So we left it by the river out there for an entire year on the ground. And when we ended up putting it up, it only took us 20 minutes. But so for getting this obelisk, it took us 4 years and 20 minutes. So we were supposed to get the second one that is at the entrance of the Luxor temple, but in the end we gave up because we said, okay, this is taking way too much time, and anyways, we also have a big tower in here, so we don't care. But it was officially, so this has been here since 1830, and we officially gave the other one back to Egypt in the 1980s. Yeah, I think they were waiting for us to get back out there, and we just never did. We are pretty bad. You know, the French. We think everything belongs to us. Hey, which kind of does? I like that. And the obelisk actually tells you the story of Ramses II. It's quite old, but it's written out there. I will show you from here so that you get a better view. How old do you think that obelisk can be? I mean, Ramses II coming from Luxor, it's actually 3,000 years old. Shall we talk about how old America is? No, I'm teasing you, of course. We all know that America is very old. Which is actually going to bring me to my very first question of the quiz. Were you paying attention? Everything is older than you. Don't worry. I'm sure that you guys are very young. I mean, look at me. I am like 60 and you can't see it because I have a very good surgeon. No, that's not true. Okay, but you're still going to get that question. So, my first question to you is, where does the obelisk from the Place De La Concorde right here come from? Is it answer A, Cairo, or answer B, Luxor? Where does the obelisk come from? A, Cairo, or B, Luxor? I hope you were paying attention. So there was something else that was happening on that square out there. This square was called la Place De La Concorde. But during the French Revolution, it was actually called la Place De La Revolucion, the square of the revolution. So can you imagine what happened on that square during the French Revolution? is where they all lost their heads. The French guillotine was right here. You know, there's an interesting fact. Louis XVI, who was the French king back in those days, got beheaded out there. And his wife too, Marie Antoinette. Here they beheaded 3,000 people just out there on that square. And there would always be 20,000 people watching. Because hey, they were bored. They didn't have virtual tours back in those days. So for a Sunday morning, there was nothing better than to go and watch a little execution. It was a fun thing for them. But here is a fun fact. So Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette were beheaded here back in 1793. But do you know how late we kept on using the guillotine? When was the last time? Don't tell me yesterday, because we don't have death penalty anymore. Although if my partner doesn't do the dishes, I might call it back. My partner is from Wisconsin, by the way. What's wrong with Wisconsin people? They really need a lot of cheese, right? But so the last time we used the guillotine in France, I mean legally, right? Oh yes, it's coming, it's coming. It was, do you remember when the first movie of Star Wars came out? When for the first time on the big screen Luke was trying to save Leia. That was back in 1977. So 1977, the first movie of Star Wars comes out, and here we chop off the heads of the people. It was the only way for death penalty in France. No lethal injection, no shooting anyone, just the guillotine. Because, come on, it's quick, it's cheap, and it's not painful. Or at least no one ever complained about it. Although your brain remains active for a few minutes after, so let's not talk about this. Let me rather tell you about where I am, because I told you that we are here on the nicest avenue, and at the end of that avenue, I'm showing you from here and then I will go cross out there. It's also the most dangerous avenue of France, so I have to be careful. All the way out there, there is an arch, and that arch was actually it was built, not built by him, but he's the one who asked for it. It was built by a man who was wearing a nice hat and made a lot of campaigns for stealing the art of everybody. And his name was Napoleon. You know, Napoleon, the guy who was short. Wait, was he short? Or is that a story? It's a story. Napoleon was actually not short. I mean, okay, I'm super short. I'm 5.3. Don't laugh. But Napoleon was actually 5.6. He was not short, but the thing is that back in those days, France and England did not have the same calculation of feet. So when we said, hey, Napoleon is that many feet, in England, instead of changing it, converting it, they just copied the same, and our feet were not at all the same. So in the end, he was 5.6, which for back in those days was actually pretty decent. But these damn English, they were just spreading the word everywhere that Napoleon was short. Why would he have needed such a big door? So Napoleon was 5.6 in the end. But he got the Arc de Triomphe built, so the Arch of Triumph, that he copied after the Romans, because he wanted his triumphant army to be able to come to Paris walking under the arch out there. But here is a funny story. is that he got it built, but it took a little while, so it was finished after he died. So he actually never got to walk underneath. So instead, when they brought him back after he was dead, they walked his coffin underneath. I mean, it's better than nothing. It's okay. All right, we're gonna cross. Ooh, this is the dangerous part. Look at all the risks I'm taking for you guys. And I'm going to just stay in the middle right here for you to be able to see it a bit. You see all the lights of the cars, and we can all be singing right now. Oh, Champs-Élysées, ba-da-da-da-da. Right now, actually, the arch doesn't exactly look the same as usual because it is wrapped. They wrapped it because there is a South American artist who died a couple of years ago, and his dream, his name was Cristo, his dream was to wrap the Arc de Triomphe. So we did it for him. So it's like covered with very big stripes of paper. And everybody's making a joke about this today because they don't like it. They say, hey, people bought too much toilet paper during the quarantine and they don't know what to do. So this is what they did with it. Come on, it's a piece of art. That is not so nice. But so this is the Arc de Triomphe out there. And underneath, actually, in the middle, there is a flame which is burning day and night. It is the flame of the unknown soldier. The same thing actually exists in many countries. And even when Paris was occupied by the Nazis, it was still burning. So it was never, ever off. Except one time when there is a guy who peed on it. But shh, don't tell anyone, because we don't want it to be known. We want you to think that it's always been exactly the same, and we're very proud of it. So, new question of the quiz. Careful. The drums. Who got the Arc de Triomphe built? Is it A, Napoleon, or B, Louis XVI? Who got the Arc de Triomphe built? A, Napoleon, B, Louis XVI. Up to you. And while you are still thinking about the answer, I can just introduce to you on the other side, all the way hidden out there, there is the presidential palace, the house of the president. He lives in a very nice old palace. And it is interesting because we beheaded all the kings and the queens, but the French president still lives in a palace. Some people go, hey, you should just live in a regular house. But you know, we like to do it the French way and keep it quite big. This is quite nice. And so if you ever watch, I don't know if you guys do that. I do a lot of cycling and I just love watching the Tour de France. And the Tour de France, they cycle up and down the Champs-Élysées. And because it is very long, they only have to cycle up and down 10 times, and that's already 20 kilometers. And the fun thing is that it's the last day. So they're basically just drinking champagne and having fun around here. But the thing is that they are taking so many drugs that in the end, whoever wins is always disqualified. It is the next one winning. So it's always a surprise who is going to be winning. So that's where they do it. That's where they finish the Tour de France. And that is also where we have a very big parade, military parade, for the 14th of July, which is our national day, 10 days after the American one, so that's very close. And that's where we get all of our big military tanks and everything to go up and down for the people to be able to see all of the military equipment of France. And also there's one thing that is very nice. You get hyperspeed planes flying above, two planes with one color. Two planes are in blue, two planes they show smoke that is white. 2 planes, the smoke is red. So blue, white, and red, those are the colors of the French flag. And it costs a lot of money to run that. But one day, a couple of years ago, there is one guy who got in the wrong file. And instead of having 2 blue, 2 white, and 2 red, it was 1 blue, 1 red, 2 white, 1 blue, and 1 red. I think someone got fired on that day because it was a very big joke for everybody. You have to be careful with your colors. And let me just show you this man right here. It's actually a very interesting statue. He represents the unknown soldier from the First World War. We really want to pay a tribute to all of these people who actually passed away during the wars. So we have this right here, and just behind there is what we call le Petit Palais. So that's the small palace. I told you in France we're a tiny bit arrogant. Well, the small palace is actually not a palace. It is a museum. You know, when I do tours with people and they tell me, hey Cecilia, what is this on the right? I barely turn my head. I just say, yeah, it's a museum. Because everything is a museum. So Le Petit Palais is right now, and on the other side, it's under renovation, but there is the Grand Palais. And the Grand Palais above has the largest, well, when it was built, it was the largest glass roof in the entire world. This whole thing is just one museum, and it has crazy exhibitions in it. Chanel is paying, it's written Chanel right here. Chanel is paying for the renovation because that's where they do their catwalk. And, you know, they are quite intense. So they actually like to do crazy things. They sometimes put a rocket in there, or they built a cruise ship or a fake sea just for showing off and to say, hey, look, we're Chanel and we have so much money that we can actually build anything. There's this one time they even put full-size windmills in a building. Not very useful. But so that's an exhibition hall, and now it's the second largest roof in the world. The largest, guess what? It's in Glasgow. Of course, it had to be. But so this was built for the World Exhibition, for the World's Fair, back in 1900. For the World's Fair, they built Le Grand Palais, and the other one, which is actually very different but very pretty, Le Petit Palais. France hosted different world fairs. They still are going on from time to time, but it's not as big as what it was back in those days, because it was so impressive to have all of that glass being curved and everything. And on the Petit Palais, right here, there is something in particular that I would love to show you. Right now it is very decorated because we're going to welcome the Fashion Week very soon. And of course, I'll be a part of the designers. I'll be walking, doing the catwalk from my 5.3 feet, obviously. Not quite. But there is a detail that I wanted to show you on these doors. So remember, all of this was for the World's Fair back in those days. And they built this golden gate. They have a little detail on it. Oh, look at this, I'm climbing steps for you. Yes, I know I am small. I cannot be a model. Okay, this is pretty much the highest I can go. So these doors are painted in gold. It's not gold leaf, although a lot of our buildings are covered with gold leaf. But here we know that you would steal it. So it's just paint. You can't scrap it. And on the top, right there, in the gold, there is a ship. And above the ship, there is a sentence that is written in Latin. It's written, fluctuat nec mergitur. And that sentence, fluctuat nec mergitur, is actually the motto of Paris. And it has been the motto of Paris since basically, well, for 2,000 years. Because 2,000 years ago, I wanted that. 2,000 years ago, the Romans actually invaded Paris with a guy called Julius Caesar. Caesar, he invaded France and invaded Paris, and when he was here, he actually changed the name of a city. After him, the city was not called Paris anymore. It was called Lutece. Lutetia, maybe you heard. It had a meaning in Latin. It meant city of, what could it have been 2,000 years ago? City of lights? Not quite. Maybe candles. No. City of love? Not so much. It was probably pretty dirty and not so agreeable. Oh, dirty. They called it City of Mud. Paris had the most glamorous name. Oh, gold. That would have been great, actually. City of Gold. Aww. But I guess they didn't want to call it City of Gold. If there was any gold, they just took it and ran away with it. I mean, that's okay. We can't blame them knowing what we did to Italy after. Sorry. But it was called City of Mud because there was the river, the Seine River out there that was overflowing all the time. And the Roman soldiers, they hated it. So they said, we're going to call this place the City of Mud. So for about 400 years, the most glamorous city in the world was called City of Mud. Thank you, people. And we actually still have the boat as the emblem. And the Latin sentence is actually quite nice. It means Paris floats, it floats, but it doesn't sink. Really saying you can do whatever to Paris and Paris will actually never surrender, will never sink. And I don't know, I think it's a nice image. I don't know what you could think of it. In particular, when there are things happening in Paris, people like to take that out to say, hey, you can do whatever you want, you can say whatever you want about Paris, but we will never sink. And I think it's very powerful that 2,000 years later, it still has that very big meaning. So, new quiz question. Be ready to type. For which occasion was Le Grand Palais built? Was it for A, the World's Fair, B, the anniversary of the French Revolution? So for which occasion was Le Grand Palais built? A, the World's Fair, or B, for the anniversary of the French Revolution? I'm not telling you. Do you have the answer? I hope so. And we're going to cross right here. You see, I am always paying attention when I cross to make sure that the little man is green. There you go, green. And I'm going to take you to something a bit special. Yes, very good. I'm not giving the answer. Maybe you're right, maybe you're wrong, who knows? But if you see some people who are very well dressed in the city, it is completely normal, just because, of course, Parisians, we have to be very careful with the way we are dressed. And people love, you know, the national sport in France. You would think, soccer? No. The national sport in France is people watching. That is why we have to be extremely careful with what we wear, because everybody is going to go bah, 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 bah. If you go to the cafes, actually the chairs in the cafes they're not facing each other, they're facing the street, so that you can really look at what people are wearing. And if someone is wearing a legging and carrying a Starbucks cup, we go, Americans. Here. Now I have crossed to the other side. Oh, there is a little something out there. Just out there. I don't know if you recognize it. It's all red. Actually, it's taking several colors tonight. Normally it's the same color, but tonight just for you. I know a few people, and I thought, I'm going to make it several colors. Or maybe it's just because there is a concert. But I don't want to break the magic. So let's say this is only just for you. And here, look at the view that we're having. So that river is called La Seine. And La Seine is actually a very long river. It goes from the English Channel all the way to Dijon. Maybe you heard of Dijon because that is where we make mustard. Mustard is very important. And this river is actually extremely important because back in the 1200s and before that in the 800s, that's where the English, and prior to that the Vikings, came for attacking us. So actually that's for that reason that Paris had installed a fortress above the water to prevent the English from coming back in the 1200s. Have you ever heard of that fortress? What was it called again? It was a big fortress, and then it got turned into a palace, and now what is it again? It's a museum now, and it is called Le Louvre. I'm sure you've heard of it because it is, as the French say, the largest museum in the world. So it is very, very important. And before, and actually at the very beginning, it used to be a fortress for preventing the English from attacking us. You know what? I know some people in the tower. Maybe there's something I could do. Let me give them a call. I know the guy who works at the electricity out there. Salut Paul, est-ce que tu pourrais nous illuminer la Tour Eiffel? D'accord. Okay, well, as you're gonna see, he's making a little something special for you guys. Voila. Look at that! Ta-da! This is what we call the twinkling of the tower. Look at this, it's like a big diamond. Of course, it's only for you. It's gorgeous, right? It actually, for sparkling, it has 20,000 lights. 20,000 LED. And when they break, because sometimes they break, when they break, actually, the Eiffel Tower puts these lights for sale. And they think, who would buy a broken light from the Eiffel Tower? Well, some American would. So they put them in auctions, and the selling price starts at 500 euros for a broken light bulb. So that's a souvenir you can get from the Eiffel Tower. Or you can just decide to go to a 3 Michelin star restaurant and eat that instead of bringing that. But this is really the most beautiful thing, I think, in Paris in the evening. And you see it's changing color at the same time. It's only been since... oh, you never get tired of it, right? I mean, I could just watch it all the time. It twinkles for about 5 minutes because, you know, the person, Paul, that I had on the phone said, okay, I will light it for 5 minutes just for you guys because I'm sure that these people are very excited to see it. It works to know people. Or maybe the trick is just that it goes off on the clock every night for 5 minutes. But no, let's not break the magic. Actually, that's how my stepfather got my mother to fall in love with him. He did that trick. He told her, I'm going to call the guy who does the electricity. So I hope you all fell in love with me now because of that, because I showed you the nicest thing. We'll get back to the Eiffel Tower so that I tell you some stories about it after. But first of all, I would like to show you what is going on out there. You are on the most beautiful bridge of Paris. This bridge is called Alexander III. And every time I do a tour right here and the Eiffel Tower is twinkling at the same time, there are people who propose here. They always put a knee on the ground and they propose because it's so romantic. So there is one time I came here with my Wisconsin partner and we were right here and the Eiffel Tower started twinkling and he put a knee on the ground to lace his shoe. It's been 11 years. What is wrong with Wisconsin people? I don't get it. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's the French, actually. But it really is a very nice bridge. It's called Alexander III. That's the name of that bridge right here. And it actually is a Russian bridge. So it was given to France at the occasion of the World's Fair, so the same one for Le Grand and Le Petit Palais. And for that occasion, Russia, they donated that bridge, which is honestly not only great, but it was also the first bridge with electricity, with the lights like this. It was the first bridge with only one arch because only the Russians had the power to do that. And in return, we did give a bridge back to Russia. So first of all, we don't give them a super original gift because we're giving them the same thing that they have given us. And second of all, the one we're giving them is actually super tiny and not worth anything. But we're just happy because we still have this one. And it's where everybody comes to do their photo shoots. All the movies are being filmed here every time you want to be romantic. And I mean, you can understand, just look at this guy. And once again, here, his crown and his scepter are painted with gold. It's not real gold because otherwise we know that you would just be too tempted to try to scrape it off. So we're keeping it like that. I would like to tell you about the building that is just out there. This here was a military hospital. It was called l'Hôtel des Invalides. Hotel in Old French meant hospital and for the invalid soldiers. It was built by a French king. And as you've figured out so far, all the French kings are called Louis, so that's very easy. So it's a Louis who built this, and his name is Louis XIV. He's actually the Sun King. And the Sun King, he got this built for his soldiers, and in the middle out there, this is a church. It's a chapel because, hey, the soldiers who are wounded, you know that they might die, so you want to be able to give them the last rites. So, you know, it was a military hospital. It had 2,000 beds. Now it only has 200 beds because we don't make wars much. So we have a building with a lot of space in Paris. What are we going to do with it? I know. We turn it into a museum. Oh, of course, as usual. I told you, my job is the easiest. I just say it's a museum every time. So this one is the Museum of the Army. It has the largest collection of knight armor in it. Once again, a superlative, the largest collection. I should hear myself talk. But the most important is that in that church, our 5.6 Napoleon is buried because when he died, he said, in his will, he wrote a paper, he said, I would like to be buried in central Paris because I love the Parisians. Okay, we're gonna wait until 20 years after he's dead because for a while we just don't care about him. And he died on an island with the English, and we're like, keep it. But after 20 years, we get him back. His second wish, and I just love that. He said, I want any person, whether they are French or not, who come to visit my tomb to bow in front of me. What? Of course, we're arrogant people, but not that much. Like, Napoleon, what are you talking about? And how do you want us to do this? So they were thinking about different ways. They were thinking, should we just put money on the ground so that people would pick up the money and that way bend? That'll be a very expensive thing when people are coming to visit the museum. So they were thinking, and eventually they said, we're going to put the tomb low so that if people want to see it, they have to bend. So we get everybody to bend in front of Napoleon's tomb, and people don't even know. I just love it. We, in particular, when it works with the English, we love it. And it is actually worth seeing his tomb, because you can look on the web later. His tomb out there is the size of a big truck. I don't see any big truck right now for showing you how big it is, but it's an enormous truck, because he's a bit like a Russian doll. He's buried in 6 different coffins. Because, you know, one time he escaped from an island, so we're thinking, we don't want you to escape, we want you to stay here. Or maybe we say that he needed a very big coffin to fit his ego in there. All the reasons can be good, but he has an outside coffin which is made of red marble. It's just absolutely fabulous. And then inside there is a tin one and a wood one and so on. But we can actually, of course, not see these. There are some doubts about whether it's Napoleon's body who is actually in the tomb, but they asked for Napoleon's family to run some DNA test, and the family was, no, we're not doing any tests. We keep the mystery. So, ready for a new quiz question? The question is, how tall was Napoleon? Was he 5.2? Answer A. Or was he, answer B, 5.6? How tall was Napoleon? 5.2, answer A, or 5.6? I'm not telling anything. All I can say is that he was taller than me. That's all. I'm not saying anything else. Okay. Ooh, I look like a witch with that light. I have to be careful. I want to tell you some stories about the Eiffel Tower now, so let me switch back. All right, look at that. It's actually very pretty. Ah, the Iron Lady. So you probably already know that the Eiffel Tower was built for a World's Fair, like all of your other World's Fairs basically, but this one was in 1889. And if I ask you, or if I ask anyone, who designed the Eiffel Tower? I mean, if I ask you really, who designed the Eiffel Tower? I'm sure that you're going to tell me it is Gustave Eiffel, which would make total sense. But he did not. Mr. Eiffel paid for it and he got his name on it, but he actually never designed the Eiffel Tower. But he got all the credit for it. He's a fraud. No, his company, he actually had a very big railway company, and he was also making bridges. And by the way, it is his company that made the stairs of the Statue of Liberty. But some of his workers, back in 1884, so 5 years before the World's Fair, they wanted to participate in this contest for the World's Fair. The contest was, is the Iron Lady the Statue of Liberty? No, I'm so sorry, but the Iron Lady is this one, or Margaret Thatcher, according to whether you're talking about a real person or not. There's only one Iron Lady, and it's this one. Come on, the Statue of Liberty is so tiny. And believe me, we know because we're the ones who made it. But so back in 1884, these guys, these designers, they're going to want to participate to the contest for the World Fair of what was I? You guys, I am I am lost now, and I'm laughing too. I'm just goofy now. Oh, look at this. I have no idea what I wanted to say anymore. You just got me very lost now. And there's a big party. You know what? I'm jumping off. Look at this. By the way, we gave you the Statue of Liberty for the anniversary of independence, the American anniversary of independence. We were a bit late, by the way. We were like 20 years late when we gave it to you. But we gave you the Statue of Liberty. And you know what you did in return? You gave us the same thing. You gave us a Statue of Liberty, but the one you gave us is 1/4 the size of the original. Come on! Seriously. We gave you a full-size one. This is not nice of you. Well, so the people who actually designed the Eiffel Tower, I'm gonna get there, we're gonna make it. The people who actually designed the Eiffel Tower were called Maurice Coquelin and Émile Nouguier. And Mr. Eiffel, when he saw that their drawings were awesome and then they were onto something, he was like, hey, I'm gonna buy these drawings from you and I'm going to become super famous. So that's when he actually decided to pay for the tower, which was built for the 100th anniversary of our independence, 1889. But the funny thing is that this was the tallest tower in the world, the tallest man-made structure in the world. It was 1,000 feet. And the tallest thing before the Eiffel Tower was actually in Washington, D.C. It was the Washington Monument, and it was like that tall. So we doubled it. Ta-da! And we kept the record of the tallest building for 40 years. We were so proud. It was such an incredible technology back in those days. So remember, that's how high the obelisk was, and we doubled it. And in 1929, so 40 years after the Eiffel Tower was built, you guys, you built a building in New York. And no kidding, so that's how high the tower is. Your Chrysler building was like, meh, peanuts. Barely any higher than the Eiffel Tower, just for stealing the record from us. Do you think that the French, they liked it? No. So what did we do in return? We added antennas on the top of the Eiffel Tower, so we were higher than the Chrysler building. And then 6 months later, Empire State Building. And there was nothing we could do anymore. We could not just add extra antennas on top of it. It was just over. And you guys won, but not for long, because if you know now, the tallest building is in Dubai, is the Burj Khalifa. It is about 3 times the Eiffel Tower. It is very, very, very tall. So the tower is still here nowadays, but it was not supposed to actually be here still today. It was only supposed to be there for 20 years, and then they were supposed to take it down. But Mr. Eiffel, at last, he did something. On the top, he had a bedroom. If you go on the top, actually, you can see his former bedroom, and there is a wax statue of him and Thomas Edison, because Edison was visiting him out there, and he was running some experiment about air pressure and gravity on the top. And so that's how he got the Eiffel Tower to stay here. And you know, there are people who are actually in love with objects. That does exist. And there's that lady who, I think she's from Virginia. She's from somewhere in the States. And in 2008, she got married to the Eiffel Tower. There was a priest and they did a ceremony. And so now her name is Erika Eiffel. I think I'm going to get married to this guy here, to the statue, because I find him very handsome. I don't know what you're thinking. So just a couple more things about the Eiffel Tower before we run out of time. Maybe you've seen pictures of the Eiffel Tower. So right now, because of the concert, it's a bit dark. But I'm glad. So you know, the color of the Eiffel Tower right now is brownish. And once again, because we're not presumptuous people, The brownish, we call it Eiffel brown because we say we invented that color. Of course, how could it be otherwise? But it's not the original color of the Eiffel Tower. And actually the Eiffel Tower is going to turn back to one close to its original color. The very first color of the Eiffel Tower, you guys were born, right, at that time, 1889? No. I'm teasing. The original color was actually red. It was a very dark red, and it was red for 2 years, but this is not the color Eiffel wanted. Gustave Eiffel, he wanted it to be yellow. So it was yellow for a little bit, and then they said, yellow is just too ugly, right? Let's get back to red, and then they tried the brown, and now we're going to go back. But actually, you know what? You were talking about the city of gold. What about the Eiffel Tower? What if it were covered with gold? It would actually be extremely convenient because every time there is gold leaf. So for instance, on the dome of the church out there, it's 24 pounds of gold leaf. And the statues here, every time you get a Pegasus, and it's covered with gold leaf. And it is the American tourists who pay for it. So I have nothing against the Eiffel Tower being covered in gold leaf as well. That would very much work for me. I wouldn't have to pay for my taxes, so that's actually okay. It's going to bring me to the last question of today. My question is, carefully, who designed the Eiffel Tower? Is it A, Gustave Eiffel, B, Maurice Coquelin and Émile Nouguier? Let me repeat that because you're going to have to type everything. Who designed the Eiffel Tower? Is it A, Gustave Eiffel, or B, Maurice Coquelin and Émile Nouguier? I will not say a word. The last thing I would like to tell you about the tower is actually a fun thing, because let me swap back to the other side. Come on, it's too easy to only write the letter, you lazy people. You have to write the entire names. You don't get the gifts if you're only writing the letter. So the Eiffel Tower, I told you, is 1,000 feet tall, which is much, much taller than me, and it takes a lot of Napoleons to climb all the way up. But when I do tours in the Eiffel Tower, I usually finish in the middle. So there are elevators, and there has been elevators since the very beginning, since the opening in 1889, sorry. But the elevators go to the second floor and then they go to the top. It's a different elevator. So when I do the tours, I usually walk from the middle down. Walking down takes me 10 minutes, more or less. Every year there is a contest, there is a race where people go up, but not just to the middle. They go all the way to the top, which is 1,665 steps. So they go from the very bottom to the very top running. I told you, for me to run down from the middle, so down is well less tiring, to run down from the middle, it takes me 10 minutes. The race up, and I'm sure that you guys could actually beat that record, because I'm sure you're in very good shape. And if you take some steroids like the people who do the Tour de France, you can probably do that. The record for racing up the Eiffel Tower is 7 minutes and 48 seconds. You're not going to get a quiz about that, but I just think it's an interesting fact to see how fast they can be. 7 minutes and 48 seconds. So those were all of my stories for you for today. I don't know if you have any questions about the things that I've told you, or I've been teasing you a lot. So if you want to tease me back, it's okay. I mean, I am blonde, I have blue eyes. I can handle the silly blonde things, so go ahead if you want to tease me as well. But please let me know if you have any questions before I let you go, because it's time for my glass of wine. And you know, there is my friend Paul who's waiting for me at the light of the Eiffel Tower. So feel free to ask me. And otherwise, I hope that you learned a few things. Oh, that is nice. I'm glad in that case. It makes me happy if you had a good time, you learned a few things. And soon you'll be able to receive the little gifts that I picked from you. I picked them from the bouquinist. And the bouquinist, there are people who've been selling books, basically, or posters and things like this. And they've been selling little things along the Seine River for 500 years. Thank you so, so much. So I hope you're going to have a great, great night. Thank you so, so much for having stayed here. And I wish you a lovely, lovely day. Bye to you all. À bientôt. Thank you. Bye-bye. You're welcome.